Hey all, Dr. Paul Borosky, owner of Quality Business Plan, and for this video what I'd like to do is talk about my advanced business plan. And the advanced business plan is a great business plan if you are looking for funding up to about $1 million. Also, if you really want to step it up a notch and show the reader, the lender, or the investor, or the underwriter that you've really done your research, you know how you're going to be running your business, you know what your financials are going to be looking like, and you've got a great foundation for assumptions, well, this is the plan for you. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into the advanced business plan. This is a sample business plan that I wrote for myself many years ago, but I've updated it recently so I can use it as a video example. All right, so when you open up my advanced business plan, you're going to be greeted with the title page, and the title page is just going to have either your logo or I'll put just a placeholder logo on there for you. Underneath, I'll have my name and the date that the business plan was written. Table contents. So for the advanced plan, you are going to be looking at about 40 to 45, maybe 50 pages for the advanced plan. I'm going to go through all these sections real quick. It might take about 10 minutes. So hold on to your hats. We're going to fly through it. Here's just the confidentiality and disclaimer statement, pretty generic. Executive summary. The executive summary is just going to, it follows a specific pattern. Right here, I'm going to describe what your business does and how it does it. I'll touch on the competitive advantages with a chart right here. We'll go into the target market. Once we're done with that, we'll say that, the financial highlights, if you do your competitive advantage and you execute your business, here's the financials that should be projected. And then finally, how much money you need in order to get this party started. Next section is going to be the company description. I start this off with another business and concept and summary right here. Then we'll dive into the services offered. From there, we'll talk about your primary target market. And then we'll get into your competitive advantages. I'll do a brief paragraph here. And again, this will be the same chart that's on the executive summary. I want to really stress on these 2 points. And so that's why I use the same chart in the executive summary as well as the business plan. Location section, we'll talk about that. I'll include a map if that's relevant. And then we'll also talk about your future plans, hour of operation, as well as personnel. All right, so that wraps up that section. And let's get into the next. All right, the next section is the SWOT analysis. And for the SWOT analysis, that's just the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat for the organization. These 2 sections right here, we're taking a look at the internal aspect of your business, whereas opportunities and threats, we're going to go ahead and briefly outline your external environment. Next section is going to be industry analysis. I used the ChatGPT as well as other resources to write this section, and we'll cover the industry examination, industry as a whole, give a brief overview of the revenues as a whole for the industry, and then we'll talk about a few industry trends. Next section is going to be the competition section. Competition, I'll identify a couple of competitors, and then I'll write up a summary for each competitor. Then we'll get into the organization and management. We'll talk about the ownership position, the legal structure. Then we'll go ahead and the most important part of this section is the organizational structure, who reports to who, and the job positions in a visual chart. Resume, if you supply me with a resume, I'll go ahead and put that into the appendix, and I'll also note it that the resume is in the appendix right here. Then we're going to begin into the sales and marketing. Typically for a business plan, we're going to be doing 3 segments for marketing. It's going to be networking. It'll be also traditional as well as social media, and then we can do website as well. If your advertising channels are different, we can go ahead and update that and put that in there. Funding request, how much money do you need to get that party started? I'll go ahead and update your information right here. And then we'll go ahead and I also include 2 charts, one pie chart showing the breakdown of your startup or expansion costs. And then I give some buckets right here, some just broad categories as well as estimated dollar amounts here. Next section is going to be your financial projections. On the financial projections, I'll do a highlight right here, include a nice little visual chart here, and then we'll outline the assumptions that we made when creating the financial projections. Financial projections, I don't just throw the reader into the financial projections without no foundation and not explaining where the numbers are coming from. So with the advanced plan, we walk them into the financials. We'll start with the daily sales. We'll show the initial monthly labor. From there, we'll go ahead and break down the initial monthly costs as well as a pie chart, and then we'll show the growth rates of where the segments are going to be growing and at what rates they will be growing. Once we're done with that, then we'll get into the profit and loss quarter one. I break up the profit and loss into monthly for the first year as well, actually the first 2 years. So it'll be month one, month two, month three, then quarter one. And then we'll go into month 4, 5, 6, which is quarter two. Same thing for quarter three, same thing for quarter four. Once we get done with that, I'll show the common size. And common size, all I'm doing here is just comparing each segment with the revenues and show what percentage of the salary and labor is allocated based on the revenues. Next, we'll get into the profit and loss for year two. And again, I break it up into quarterlies as well as monthly. And then once we're done with all that good stuff, now we're ready for the income statement. And I do put a pro forma income statement in here for the first 5 years, as well as a balance sheet for a pro forma balance sheet for the first 5 years as well. The next section is going to be the break-even analysis. So we do a break-even analysis. I also include a chart in there as well. Then we have our cash budget. What is your monthly cash positions for the next 12 months? We'll include that in here. And then finally, actually not finally, but then we'll do a best case scenario and a worst case scenario. Best case scenario, I increase the revenues by a percentage and show them how well you will be doing if you exceed expectations. And then worst case scenario, I reduce the revenues, and I also show that if it's a worst case scenario and you don't hit your targets, then what your financial position will look like as well. Next, I include the financial ratios, all the ratios that are applicable. These are all the ratios I could possibly include, but if they're not applicable, then I'm not going to include them, of course. And then I also do include a projected valuation based on cash flows. And so all I do is we just estimate what the cash flows are going to be. I bring those back to present day dollars using a discount rate, and the net present value is the valuation. This is just one of many valuations. This is not a wholesale or retail valuation. Then we'll get into the payback period, and then finally we are at the sensitivity analysis. And this for the sensitivity analysis, what I do is I increase your cost of goods as well. In this section right here, I'll increase your cost of goods by 5%, and then I'll show how your company will respond based on an increase of cost of goods. And then in the next section, I increase your fixed cost, and I show how if your fixed costs increase, how that will impact your profits as well. Final section is going to be the appendix, and in the appendix, all this is just usually in the appendix could be a resume, or if you send me any other information that is relevant to the business plan, but it's not in any one of our sections, I can put it into appendix. All right, hopefully this information was helpful. If you want some assistance in writing the advanced business plan, feel free to reach out, and let's go ahead and wrap it up and sum it up. Thanks. And hopefully you'll find this information helpful. Again, Dr. Paul Borosky here, owner of Quality Business Plan, and my main service that I provide is helping small business owners implement my organized plan growth strategy. I also provide business plan writing and financial projection models. I do organizational management, fractional COO, CFO services, and this in general business consulting. If you need some service, feel free to reach out. Thanks.